I'm so freaking happy you're here, Alli. I'm so
Yeah.
happy we're having this conversation. What a beautiful background. Like greenery, come on.
Dude, trees. Trees. I actually just wanted a house
Trees.
with trees. That's what I wanted. And if
Yeah.
it was a beach, obviously I would want that, but
But like for you, Virgo, I think tree is the vibe. You're Earth. Your tree is the vibe.
that's right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like,
Dude,
I want to sit on my balcony and chill, but it's
yeah.
like jackhammers. Like,
My greatest hope for you is
mm,
that you move to a place that is serene
thank
and
you.
quiet. Like it's life-changing. Because
Yeah.
I was in the same thing in when I was living just for the last 6 months in Toronto, like
Yeah.
construction right beside us, ambulances,
Yeah.
whatever, like the horns, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so unhappy. Like, just
Yeah.
can't even
Activated.
be outside.
I
Like, I
know.
just want
Yeah.
to be on the earth, like silence has a price tag, and I'm willing to pay it.
There you go. Well, that kind of leads perfectly into what brought us here because you built a business that could pay for it.
Well,
So
that's it. That's it.
that's,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. I'm going to start by quickly introducing you to give some context to anyone tuning in
Hmm.
to this episode. Alli Rizacos. Alli is someone I like to call Alli my OG. Alli is my OG because she was my first coach. And like
Yeah.
anytime you'll see, I comment on Alli's posts on LinkedIn all the time. I'm like, my OG. It's like as often. It's my moniker for you.
Yeah.
So Alli and I met a couple of years ago now.
Mm.
But I don't even honestly, time has lost all meaning. So I couldn't even put the year on it. Actually I could. It was 2 years ago, 2023.
Yeah, it must have been.
Met through a mutual friend, Anish. Thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Laura. Lordy. I don't know what I would have done without that conversation. So I had it at the time, I was in my corporate job as a sales development leader, and I was in that kind of very familiar place of, okay, I should be deeply satisfied by this work. I said I wanted to be a manager. I said I wanted to have strategic impact. I'm doing all the things. Why do I feel so trapped and so like empty? And I saw that Anish had just gone on his own and started his sales consultancy, which has since turned into something magical. And I
Okay.
remember thinking, so he and I were alumni of the same business school. We did the
Mhm.
same MBA program. And I reached out to him and I was like, man, I need to talk to you. How did you do this? I think I want to do this. I think I want to work for myself and basically on my own terms.
Mhm.
And he, obviously, we had a great conversation, but he said something that was so simple where he was like, well, Jess, you just start it. Like you can do it right now. And I was like, oh my God. I was so confronted by that. I was like, I had all of these
No,
excuses. I was
I
like,
need an LLC. I need my thing.
yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah, exactly. I was like, I feel like I need more experience was the thing that I led with. And he was like, you know what I think is stopping you, my friend? And I was like, tell me. And he
imposter
was like,
syndrome.
imposter syndrome. He's like, have you heard of Alli Rizacos? I was like, no. He's
Mhm.
like, she's a good friend of mine. She's an imposter syndrome coach. And I think that this is what you need right now. And I was like, yeah, I think, yeah. I didn't even know coaching was a thing at the time, Alli.
Yeah,
Like,
which is crazy.
yeah. So
But the
today's
funnier story
guest,
behind that, if
yeah,
I
go
say
for
that,
it.
is that when I first met Anish through Kevin Dorsey, because
Mm,
Kevin Dorsey was like the first ever podcast that I did, which was like amazing. What a like me and him were friends, and so he asked me to be on
yeah,
his podcast. But like, what a great launching pad for me and my business to be on his podcast,
yeah,
you know? And Anish
yeah.
for Kevin. And so when we were getting the podcast set
Got
up,
it.
I met Anish. We were having one-on-ones, and at the time, Anish was a corporate layman,
Like,
and
yes.
and he was like, I'm so in awe of you, like I can't believe, this is so cool that you have your own thing. I'm like, bro, what are you waiting for? And so I was the one who was like, bro, let's go, let's
He
go.
was speaking your words to me. He
So
was
the student
channeling
became
his
the
inner
teacher,
Alli
right? The student
Rizacos.
became the teacher because I was the one for him to be like, bro, what are you doing? Go start your own thing. And then when he did, it was like, oh my God, amazing. Thank you. I think he even like tagged me in the post type of thing. And then he did it to you, right? So it's such a beautiful example
Mhm.
of like when we step into our power, right? When we step into our stuff, will
Mhm.
affect everyone else starts to do it. It's the ones that are ready for
100%.
it, right? The ones that are ready.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it really is such a beautiful, not even analogy, it's evidence of why the good part of this industry, the
Mhm.
incredible part of this industry, which
Yeah,
is the people who are in it for the right reasons
right.
to impact people, the
Yeah,
people who they're meant to work with, like, holy moly, the ripple effect of that is incredible.
yeah.
So, for anyone who is new to Alli is a former Salesforce leader turned imposter syndrome coach. Now you know that part of her story, turned business coach who now helps corporate professionals become successful coaches on LinkedIn. So Alli is like the LinkedIn queen. So this was alluded to with how Anish was like, oh my God, I'm in awe of what you're building because Alli, you left, I think, 2021. You
Yeah.
left your corporate, and we'll get into that because I'd love to hear your
The
context around
background
that.
story. Yeah.
Right? The cushy six-figure sales leader salary and went all in on building a brand on LinkedIn, which I don't think at the time was a platform that was really being used for personal branding. So that's probably
Yeah.
why it was so groundbreaking
Yeah.
and has now created a seven-figure online coaching business, which is why she is sitting in a backyard with trees.
Yeah. Yeah. In silence. Yeah. And not on like a condo balcony with sirens. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and to each their own. So,
Yeah, of course.
what I think is really cool about you, well, so many things. You're really special to me because you empowered me to take my big leap.
Hmm.
You're a projector in human design, which I'll never forget. I started learning about human design through you.
Hmm.
And when I first started learning about energy types, and I'm a manifesting generator, you're a projector. The projectors are like the natural guides of the world. They like tell us
Yeah.
lay folk
Yeah. Yeah.
how our energy is supposed to move. And I remember at the time being like, oh, I kind of wish I was a
I was
projector.
like,
Like I've always wanted to be a guy. Meanwhile, I have that in my codes in other ways, but just a testament to you like being in your element. So projector, no bullshit leader, Virgo, earth sign. Let's fucking go. I'm a water sign.
Enneagram
This is
3.
my Enneagram 3.
Yeah.
And really, the coach that you go to when you're ready to actually take the leap and build the business and the life that is so good that it makes leaving corporate the no-brainer. So I know a lot of your clients are in corporate planning the leap, and then a lot of your clients as well have already taken the leap and
Yeah.
are stepping into your methodology. So
Yeah.
Alli,
But they have a
welcome.
corporate rock. Yeah.
Welcome. So
Thank
happy.
What a great intro. You know me
Yeah,
so well,
thanks.
of course. So yeah.
That helps. That
It's
helps.
self. Yeah.
Yeah, what would you add to that? So knowing that this is really a conversation that's being listened to by mostly women who are high achieving, high performing, probably questioning if she's ready enough, kind of like I was, to
Hmm.
lead what is actually hers.
Yeah. If
Probably
she's
doesn't
experienced
need
that.
like the ABC 1, 2, 3. It just needs to be reminded that hello, everything is within you.
Yeah.
Yeah, fill in the blanks for
Yeah.
us.
Well, I love the description of your audience. Because yeah, that is the story I tell a lot, right? Which is like my origin story of starting this business, not my full origin story, but of starting this business and whatnot. Especially because I think it's important to say that like I couldn't have been less of a risk taker like in my life. You know, I mean, my parents were over the other day and we were talking about my niece and nephew and like the different dynamics and different personalities. They're 5 and 3, right? And the girl's 3 and the boy's 5. And she's like, she's not afraid of anything and she's a bit like mischievous and manipulative, like in a kid way, right? And so then we were kind of contrasting that with how I was as a kid. And obviously, like your memory from childhood is so skewed and biased
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
yourself. Oh, I was great and whatnot.
for sure.
But, my mom was like, you weren't like a mischievous kid. You weren't ever trying to get in trouble or like, you were always kind of the good girl, really, is what she was saying. And I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, in my mind, that's who I was trying to be too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm never trying to like, pull the wool over my parents' eyes or like get away with murder. Like I was always like, how do I make them happy? Like how do I be the good girl in their eyes? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, accumulate their love and
Mm-hmm.
acceptance.
It's all about how we get love at the end of the day.
Exactly, right? And so that obviously lended to a personality in adulthood, which was quite similar and quite different than a risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're trying to be a good girl, you're not taking risks. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're doing the things that you think people want you to do or that they've told you to do in order to get their love and acceptance, right? So that was
Mm-hmm.
me for so long. And, you know, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are the same. That's why I wanted to do
Mm.
that, right? Um,
Classic good girl conditioning. Yep.
of course, and I say that because you are not that, right? You can be
Oh,
different than that. Like our
yeah.
personalities change, our identities change all the time if we choose to change them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was probably just like a ton of little, almost like imperceptible shifts that happened, throughout my adulthood. And I got really into like personal development and meditation and Buddhism and whatnot. And I got trained as a coach and I studied positive psychology. Like I was just so obsessed with like the human
Mm-hmm.
mind and behavior.
Mm.
What? And then started to learn, oh, like I am not just what I think I am, or what I've been, right? I can be something different. And I always tell this part of the story because it worked for me and I think it'll work for other people too. Maybe not everyone, but it was 2021 when I left, as you mentioned, when I quit my job,
Mm-hmm.
cushy job. Um, and it was really like multiple factors because it was a pandemic and
Yeah.
life was like so boring, you know,
Yeah.
and so was my job.
Yeah.
Um, and I often will like watch like like personal development YouTube videos and like whatever motivational stuff like that. And I just happened to that night. I think I had listened to it before. Maybe it was the first time, but I think I had listened to it before. But anyways, I watched you know this story, but I watched the Jim Carrey commencement
Mm-hmm.
speech,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And amazing speech. Go YouTube it now. It's like so worth it. The whole thing's so worth it. But he said one thing that just planted it just completely changed the chemistry of my brain, And he was
Mm-hmm.
telling a story about his dad, but how his dad was a really funny guy and he could have been a great, great comedian, like, Jim is. But he took the safe route,
Mm-hmm.
and he became an accountant, like the least funny job in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, he took the safe route so that he could like provide for his family and, do all the things that the kind of linear path tells you to do. And then he got fired from that job. And, Jim and his family kind of went through a really tough time of not having a lot of money and, whatever that looked like for them. And he learned a valuable lesson from his dad, which is that you can fail at what you don't even like. So you
Mm-hmm.
might as well try at the thing that you love. Right.
Yeah.
And I was at a point in my career or like job. It was a fairly new job at well, I had been there for like just over a year. Actually, yeah, I had just been there just over a year. I had my yearly review.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't great. And it was like the first time I really didn't have a great review.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Ooh,
kind of
good
like,
girl threatened.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, it shook me.
Oh, oh, I mean, it would have same. I can relate.
Yeah, I feel like you have like second degree like shookness, from
Yeah,
it.
100%.
So yeah, it shook me to my core. I mean, I cried for 2 days, like, and but it made me realize the pattern that I was in, which was this like people pleasing,
Yeah.
just trying to get love and acceptance still. And it was getting love and acceptance for something I didn't even like.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, what am I doing? Like, what is
Mm-hmm.
happening?
Mm-hmm.
And so that quote kind of hit me at the exact, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? Like that quote
Mm-hmm.
I needed to hear to be like, you're kind of failing at something that you don't even like, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like nothing, like literally nothing in the world to me is worse than that reality. Like not even being good or succeeding at the thing that you don't even really fucking like. You know what I mean?
I
Like
know.
literally you might as well just like lay in your grave at that point, you know? Like there's nothing, your life is just on the decline,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're
And
not
like
living. It's just,
exactly.
you're kind of sleepwalking at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, I need to do something immediately about this,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think within like a couple weeks I quit without, you know, my story is that like I didn't have anything really figured out when I quit. You know, obviously I help people have things figured out before they quit because oftentimes that's like, you know,
That's helpful for the nervous
yeah,
system.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and like listen, people have different life, you know, circumstances and situations,
Yeah.
you know, and have kids at the time. You know, most people that
Yeah.
I work with do all that kind of stuff, right? Everyone's different and everyone's path can look different. But I had nothing figured out. I didn't know no LLC, no business number, no offer, no need, like nothing. I was just like,
Mhm.
I'm out and I will figure this out. And as an Enneagram 3 and as a Virgo and a projector and all these different things, I was like, of course I can. Like I knew that part, you know? And also I knew that part because I had been getting coached for 8 years before that and working on
Mm-hmm.
my
That
imposter
will
syndrome and
do
working
it.
on my
Yeah.
self-confidence and self-image
Yeah.
and everything, right? Like that that came from years and years of work, you know, that
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
because I still have that belief in me.
Yeah.
Let's test it sometimes, of course, when I try to go too big, but still like fundamentally, like I truly believe in my capabilities. And that's like, again, the
Mm-hmm.
years of work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's like, if I could, I'm like, if I, it, truly believing in yourself is like $100 million check in your bank account. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I'm sure if someone could pay $1 million to have the ability to believe in themselves, no matter what they would, you know, I'm sure they pay $10
Yeah.
million dollars really.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was what catapulted me into I have to do the thing that I really love. And I
Mm-hmm.
always knew it was coaching. It for me, it wasn't like, oh, what should I do? I had been coached for 8 years. I had gotten coach trained. Like
Yeah.
I was already, it was ridiculous that I hadn't already done it, really. And I think for most of my clients, it's I love people. I love the, you know, I'm a manager. I like developing my team. You know, like my one-on-ones are my favorite thing. Some of them obviously have coach training, not all of them. But for me, it was like I had known this for 8 years and I wasn't doing something about it. You know,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people it's not as long. You know, I talked to someone yesterday. She's like, oh, I've been thinking about this for so long, right? And I was like, "Oh, girl, don't I know the situation and position that you're in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But for some people, I think it's a little bit different where like they think that maybe they want to do something and they don't even know what that thing is. And
Yeah.
what happened with you and with some of my other clients is like through the process of getting coached, you realize,
Yeah.
wait, this is
Yeah.
transformational and I love doing this kind of work.
Yeah. That's exactly almost if there were two scenarios. One, you know the thing and you're just delaying it, or
Yeah,
two, you know it's something else, but you don't know the thing. And
yeah,
that's what requires clarity.
yeah,
So I don't know that I've ever asked you this question, and I think it's really salient and really it's probably going to be relatable for a lot of people. You knew you wanted to be a coach, and it took you 8 years, a long ass cycle to finally do the thing. What was the pattern or belief or block that was keeping you in the loop for 8 years, not going for the thing?
yeah. For me, it was around mostly around community, to be quite honest.
Mm,
So, you know, being at a company like Salesforce, I was there for 8 years, you know, I had built such a brand and a community there. And it was my whole life, you know, like
yeah.
I lived 5 minute walk from the office, you know, like my current boyfriend worked there, my ex-boyfriend worked there, you know, like
A little bit of, like a little bit of a
almost,
cult.
yeah, 100%. But it's like you're with each other all the time. You're
Yeah,
with people
yeah,
that are like you, super ambitious, super talented. I mean, it's like it was crazy not to date anyone at work, in my opinion. You know, I was in my 20s, like I'm single, like I never, it's all dudes
mm-hmm.
making money and
Exactly.
who are smart. Like I'm sorry, but like, of course.
Fertile ground. Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Fertile, very fertile. But anyway, so like, my whole life like really revolved around my
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
and that identity. And I think more so than anything of like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. And I don't know if how to do it, which obviously the how screws most people up. And that did for me too. Like I didn't know how to do it either. And so for sure that blocked me. But I think the real block was the leaving that identity behind and what that would mean
Yeah.
for me socially, personally, more than the financial piece of it, I think for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it sounds like you never had an issue with doubting that you could do it. And
Mhm.
that was almost part of the block. It was like, well, I know I can when I decide to, but
Right.
I'm just going to coast in this, what feels really comfortable for a while
Yeah.
until I don't know, break or have to or whatever.
Well, and the big thing was like, when you work at a company like Salesforce, it's the opposite of entrepreneurial spirit.
Mm,
It's like pure, like you are a doer, you are an executor, follow the orders,
yeah.
march in sync with everyone else, right? Like it is,
Yeah.
especially when I started, it was 7,000 employees. I was like employee 7,000, whatever. It's like 80,000 employees now.
Wow.
So like it is not an entrepreneurial place. It is do
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
say, do how we say it. You learn from
Mm-hmm.
us, not the other way around. And
Mm-hmm.
so no one I knew was an entrepreneur. No one around me was an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Like it would have
Yeah.
been
That'll do it.
insane
Yeah.
to start my own business, like to them, and I really at the time like cared about what people thought and cared about what,
Of
the people
course.
expected thought, right? And funny enough, what another kind of, you know, step or
Domino.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, domino, exactly, that happened was my now current partner, um, we started he worked at Salesforce and I never really knew him when he did. He left to start a company and then I met him while he was not at Salesforce and he had started this company, right? And I didn't pay him any attention when he was at Salesforce because he's a little bit younger than me and he was like, in the ranking system he was lower and so it would have been a
Mm-hmm.
very like unkosher thing for me to have dated him
Yeah.
because I was a manager and
Yeah.
he
That's
that
fair.
yeah,
Wasn't even on your radar.
wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then he leaves and he starts a company. We meet at a party. And because he was, and this maybe sounds like a little bit like
Whatever. It's real.
petty, but like what but like because he was this like founder, I was like, oh,
That's not petty because that was the thing holding you back. You didn't
exactly,
have any evidence of the thing
exactly,
that you actually wanted to do. So
exactly.
it was like a reflection of what's possible. I don't think that's
100%.
petty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, and I knew I was like, I want to be around this person because
Yeah.
if he has figured out how to have the balls to leave Salesforce and start a business that's successful, like I want to know how to do that, right? And so we start dating while he still had that company. Funny enough, then he came back to Salesforce, but anyways, whatever. But it didn't matter because like he still had that experience, and it was they had 30 people in the company, and he was like one of the founders, right? So it was very
Mm.
successful. But that was a huge domino because
Yeah.
and maybe I would have met someone else that was a founder too, but like whatever, I met him and that's the point. Like if he didn't have that experience, I wouldn't have that evidence. And then he also gave me so
Yeah.
much confidence that I could do it too.
Yeah.
And for someone that's already done it to say that, it had more
Yeah.
weight. Whereas like, your friends can say it, you're like, oh, you could do that. Like, what do they fucking know? They've never done it. Like what, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like their opinion doesn't really hold much weight. But
Right. It
someone
can
who's
fuel the fire, but is it really giving you that like anchored support, the foundation?
yeah,
No. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But for him to say, like, of course you could do this. Like, are you joking?
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
also was like, okay, and even if it gets hard, like he could help me, like he can show me, he can advise me, which he obviously still does. Like yesterday I was like, can you make me this like financial model thing? Like because he's more of the finance background.
Hmm. Hmm.
And of course he's also a salesperson. So like, throughout this whole journey, like he's been in the background, like advising,
Mm.
you know?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like through everything you've shared, two big things jump out at me. And it's what I often I talk about all the time when it comes to any big shift, whether you are wanting to start your business, if it's a career pivot, if it's building a personal brand, starting to post on LinkedIn. That sounds small, but it actually requires a big shift.
Yeah.
And it's these like two ingredients. Number one is obsession. You need to be obsessed.
Yeah.
And it kind of the part two of that ingredient is it kind of needs to not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it
Mm-hmm.
makes too much sense, it's probably too safe. Like it's
Well, yeah, it's probably
probably
just a linear path type of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obsession, nonsensical.
Yeah.
So important because like for me, Allie, I struggled to understand this because I didn't know that I wanted to be a coach until finally I had that integration. But I would have never thought I could get paid to meditate, do yoga, have deep conversations with people and offer my perspective. These are things that always were just things I was obsessed with, but I was
Right.
like, there's no one's going to pay me for that.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, here I am
Yeah.
building a six-figure coaching business. It'll
Yeah.
scale to seven figures one day. Like, let's go, right? But so
Yeah.
obsession, nonsensical. And the second piece is the energy. Like the people you surround yourself with, it to me equates to energy.
Yeah.
And why it's so important, because a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean? Outsourcing my shit to the people around me? It's not about outsourcing. It's actually about surrounding yourself with mirrors that show you your truth.
Mhm.
So if you're around a bunch of people who are, putting up with mediocre jobs, good girl
Yep.
conditioning, like just robotic, doing the thing, complaining about the linear path, but not doing anything to get out of it, then that's going to keep you there because that's the energy you're surrounded with. And all you needed was one conversation to shift that energy for you to be like, oh shit, this is my people. This is the community that I want to build. And it's the community you built. So when you're starting that thing or moving in a different direction, I think if people would just understand these are the two things, be obsessed with it and put yourself in rooms and have conversations with people who have done the thing or people who have the same obsession, because that is so freaking powerful, right?
It's the concept of who, not how,
Yeah.
right? Everyone gets stuck on the how. Okay, but how do I build a business? And how do I start coaching? And how do I, and how do I, and how do I? And listen, you don't know how. That's the whole freaking point, right? You don't have the knowledge. Can you get the knowledge? Of course. But guess who already has the knowledge? Someone
Mm-hmm.
else. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not about trying to figure out how to do it. It's about figuring out who, right, can be your guide,
Right.
could do it for you, could connect you with someone that could help you do it. You know what I mean? Like, who is such a more powerful question than how.
Hell yes.
Everyone that's listening to this podcast, 99% of them are asking themselves how. But how,
Mm-hmm.
but how do I do it? And you have to start asking yourself who, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even, and
Mm-hmm.
this isn't just like a shameless plug, but like, even if some of your, listeners are wanting to start a coaching business, don't ask yourself how, ask yourself who. So
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
help you, like
Hell
I
yeah.
have done it for so many people, 200
Yeah.
plus coaches, right? It's like, you don't have to figure out all the mistakes. I can just tell
Mm-hmm.
you mistakes to avoid and what to
Mm-hmm.
do, how to do it right the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really coaching is. Like, this type of coaching is like, you're literally just paying to not make mistakes that you will inevitably make because you don't have the knowledge or the
Yep.
wisdom, right?
Yep.
And it will just get you there faster, truly.
Yes. Either
And
commit to
you'll
doing
still
it
make
yourself.
mistakes, by the
Yes,
way.
of course,
Yeah,
but you'll collapse time.
yeah, exactly.
It's like, I always say, it's like you have an obstacle course that is spread out into 10 miles, and you've got 10 miles of obstacles to overcome, or you could collapse all of the obstacles into a 100-meter dash, and it's
Right.
gonna, suck for the 100 meters that you're
Yeah,
like jumping over everything, but then it's done. And
yeah,
you've like cleared it. And then
yeah.
the rest of the 10 miles is like, oh, I've already made it. Like I'm good.
Well, now you have
Like,
all the strength and the knowledge and the wisdom from the
yes.
really hard hurdle
Mm-hmm.
to bring you to the next 10 miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and I love who not how. I'm gonna use that because I see that number one as figuring out who are gonna be your mentors and your mirrors. And then the second piece of that is who you be, who you are. Because the version of you that's obsessing over the how is
Yeah,
not the version of you who's going to get it done. It's the
yeah,
version of you who is so deeply obsessed and convicted in the thing that you want to build that there is no attachment to needing to do it perfectly. Like it's also the identity of like, who is the version of you who's already done it? And how
yeah,
do they make decisions?
yeah,
Like that's the I love the nuance of that who, not how, because it's who you choose to be in your orbit, but also who you choose to be.
Who you choose to be in your orbit, who you choose to be. Yeah. Who can guide you? Like it's all the who is so much more important.
Who.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think this is also like important to say, which is just like there it's sometimes hard
Yeah.
to admit that you need a who, right?
Yeah. And
I'm
the ego does not like that.
right. And a lot of the women listening to this podcast are super accomplished, right? And
Hmm.
the more accomplished you are, sometimes the less inclined you are to think about who. Because
Yeah.
just as I'm sure this happened to you when you first became a manager, you're like, now I need to know all the how because
Hmm.
I'm the how person, Everyone's
Hmm.
come to me asking how. Now I need to know how, right? Which is like the fatal flaw of every new manager because
Hmm.
you don't need to know how.
Hmm.
You don't need to know all the how. You still need to
Hmm.
think about it too, right? And so yeah, it's hard when we are accomplished and like a lot of the women on that have listened to this to put your ego aside and look for a who and accept a who. And even myself, like as I'm growing and expanding this business and scaling and all that kind of stuff, there is a part of me that's like, I should know how to do this.
Uh-huh.
I'm a
Oh,
business
right
coach,
there
la
with
la la
me.
la la, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and the factor, even if I did know how, the
Doesn't
fact
mean
of the
you
matter is that
should.
there is someone else who has done it already.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
why am I going to suffer through this and take
Yeah.
way more time? Because the other part of it is also accountability. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be as accountable to myself, right? Because we never are. Versus if
Hmm.
I pay someone to
Hmm.
show me how to do it, expect me to do it, and report back to how it went and what results I got,
Hmm.
I'm going to freaking do it, right? I
Hmm.
was listening to this coach that I've used in the past, and she's like, I hired a book coach, even though I've been a ghostwriter for like so many years, but like I
Yeah.
was not doing it. I just wasn't writing the pages. And so I hired a book coach, not because I don't know how to write, because the accountability that comes with the
Hmm.
as well, right? There's no accountability in how, right?
Mm-mm.
Like it's very hard to create your own accountability in the how, but when you look
Yeah.
for the who, guess what you're also buying or like getting,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Investing in. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I relate to that so much on the level of like, I'm good at tech and processes and automations. I can do it, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
But I've realized almost 2 years into my business now, and it should not have taken me 2 years to figure this out, that when I'm doing that shit, first of all, my eyes are bleeding a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second of all, my energy is draining.
Yeah.
And I end up leaving that task feeling like resentful, annoyed, none of the qualities that my higher self or
Yeah.
the leader that I desire to be, none of those qualities.
Yeah.
I'm basically disqualifying myself from being the mentor that I need to be to my clients as well. So it's like, okay, why are we obsessing over doing these things just because we can? And I had to kind of confront one of my shadows and my gene keys is arrogance.
Mm.
Like needing to prove that I can do it. Who the
I'm
fuck is
sure that's one of
watching?
mine too.
Like no
Yeah.
one else is watching.
I know.
And in fact, if they were, this isn't even that impressive.
Yeah, I know.
So like I again with the Jim Carrey moment of okay, that's such a powerful quote, but it took me several iterations and interviews to find the perfect virtual assistant to now do this for me. And I'm in the process of onboarding them right now. And I had to realize that, oh, this was a shadow that I needed to work through. This was something I needed my ego to let go of because it was coming from the energy of proving.
Yeah.
And I had this kind of narrative around the idea that if I don't have these things to keep me like with my eyes bleeding, that keep me having things to constantly be doing, then uh-oh, nervous system dysregulation because we're used to being burnt out.
Right.
And I thought that I had kicked that pattern to the curb. But my
Fine.
husband reflected this back to me recently and he was like, you seem really tired all the time. And every time I ask you how your day was, you're like, you kind of come up with reasons that your day wasn't great. This happened a few months ago and I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." And
Yeah.
I buy into that narrative. Like if I didn't have a good day, it means I did a lot. It means I was
Mm,
productive. It
mm.
means I'm probably successful.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
let's fucking cut that.
Yeah.
Because it's not my zone of genius, which is basically the whole point of this little rant. Like if
Well,
it's
that's what
not
I
your
was gonna
zone of
say.
genius,
This is the zone of genius stuff
yes.
versus what the ego, is clinging on to in order to have proof of its productivity and,
Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
100%. Like I cannot tell you the inner turmoil that I have around, I worked at fucking Salesforce. Like I sold CRM, right?
Hmm.
And I'm going through the process now of like implementing like a full-blown, CRM.
Hmm.
Don't you think I'm like, of course I could do this myself,
Yeah, of course. Of
you know?
course.
And everyone would expect me, everyone, this elusive everyone,
Yes, yes.
they would expect me that I should be able to do this, that I can do this. And I'm just like, there is nothing I want to do less in the world
Amazing. Great self-awareness.
than
So
implement
don't.
a fucking CRM. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally nothing. Like literally
Yeah.
nothing. It's so far from my zone of genius.
Same. I was the queen of CRM when I was in
Right.
sales. Like every other rep would never have their pipeline
Shit
updated.
together.
Their
Yeah.
opportunities were never filled out.
Oh yeah.
My notes were like in there 5 minutes after the disco
Yeah.
call. Like I was like the dream for the managers and leaders, right?
Yeah.
Now, ask me about my CRM. Non-existent. I'm
Right.
like, hey,
Oh,
virtual assistant, my new favorite
you look
person in
this
the
up?
world,
Yeah.
can you do this for me? Because, like, what?
Dude,
No.
no, I know. No, I literally know. Like my key to success at Salesforce was how fast I was at using it. Right? Like
Yeah.
the faster you got and the better you got at using Salesforce, especially when I was like super young in my career, like as a BDR. Like when you
Yeah.
knew how the tricks of the like reporting, like you were better than everyone. And so I was like, I would teach people what I was doing. And now I'm like, I'd
Mm-hmm.
be but at the time, you know why? Because there was a reward for that behavior and that kind of
Right.
productivity then. And there
Right.
is now. There's
Right.
no one that's gonna fucking give us a bonus check
Right.
because we have
Yeah.
a fancy little CRM set up, It's just
No.
us and
Yeah.
nothing there. And so like we only did it then because it was motivated by something, right?
Yeah.
This like
Yeah.
now there's no status and we're like, fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Release.
hard to care.
And like, hello, massive permission slip to anyone listening that Allie has built a seven-figure business without a
Yeah.
CRM.
Yeah. Like little
Like,
dirty secret. Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
was just listening to a podcast this weekend, and it's a founder that I deeply respect at big podcast. She was speaking to Brianna Wiest. I don't
Oh,
know. It was cool. It whatever was not the deepest thing I've ever heard, but
yeah.
anyway, one of the ads on her podcast, so would have been sponsored by Shopify. She says, if you're thinking about starting a business or making that leap, the one thing I wish I had done was started with Shopify from the first go. Shopify is the best tool, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I actually was like, I was horrified because I was like, if you're thinking of starting a business, don't fucking build a website.
No, I
It's
know.
not the first thing you should do.
No.
What do you,
No.
this is horrible advice. It's
Offer,
good advice.
messaging, market, like all of that
Oh
stuff
my good
work. Yeah.
gracious. I was like, this is the why I was horrified because I was like, I really respected you. And that means a lot of people who are thinking of starting something
We're
are
gonna do
taking your words really seriously. And I'm not saying she's a bad person for saying, like, to each their own, but that advice needed to come with a whole context of if you are launching like a
that.
retail
E-commerce.
item.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have a very specific e-commerce brand that you are starting, but like for everyone who is navigating this identity shift of identifying what is your zone of genius and how can you monetize it. And if you're looking at Allie and me being like, I want to get paid to teach people how to do something I'm already naturally good at, you can, and you
Yeah.
don't need a website.
You don't need any fancy tools. Truly. Like
Tell
I
us.
run like G Suite mostly,
Yeah. Yep.
basically. You know?
Yep. Yep.
And people pay me a lot of money and they get G Suite workbooks, you know?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
it works. It's not broken. In fact, it has better functionality, I think, than Kajabi, because most people do use Kajabi for like the course,
Yeah.
videos, whatever.
I am onboarding Kajabi for one of my programs. It's fine, like it's gonna be great, but
Yeah,
all to say, you can totally do this with a Google Doc.
of course. And like I said, I think the functionality is a little bit better because it becomes a working document. It becomes like, oh,
Yes.
that's why I call it a workbook. Like we're gonna do a lot of
Yes.
work here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Kajabi is
I'll probably still have a workbook in Google with the Kajabi
right.
platform.
Right.
Like,
No, I think you have to. I think it's like, here's the videos and then download the workbook
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
they don't do that functionality. Anyways, we're getting off track, but
Well, I don't know that we are because this was something you told me. So for context for anyone tuning in, I started working with Alli when you were an imposter syndrome coach. So this was not business oriented whatsoever. It was purely identifying self-sabotage patterns, identifying what what my value system was, what's my mission, what am I moving toward? Really also the biggest gift you ever gave me, Alli, was reconnecting to my intuition.
Mm,
And why did I need a permission slip? Well, just like Alli needed to meet someone who was doing the thing, when we have that permission slip on the external, it just allows the internal integration to drop in more easily.
yeah.
And then when you started your business coaching program, I think I was in the first, was I in the first or second
Second.
cohort?
Yeah.
Second.
Second.
Okay. So you would have had your first cohort. I was in your second cohort. And that was specifically like fast track, build your LinkedIn brand and start acquiring leads and scaling your business. And one of the big things you taught was like, get your head out of the story that you need a website, you need the
Right.
perfectly structured program, you need all of these things to be perfect and lined up, and get your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
Identify the one thing, the one transformation that you're obsessed with and you're qualified to facilitate. Identify the person who is going to
Needs that transformation.
who
Yeah.
absolutely needs that
Yeah.
transformation. Well, I feel like you just posted something today as well. It was like, business isn't hard. Just
Yeah.
build a no-brainer offer.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Like the furniture guy. The what a
yes,
no-brainer offer. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So all to say, I don't think it's necessarily off track because the real lesson here is you don't need to overcomplicate this. If you have the thing that has been gnawing at you to move, it's like stop externalizing it and trying to make sense of it,
Well,
right?
and I think too, when we are stuck in the how and feeling like it's super complicated, right?
Yeah.
It is like what ding ding ding, like woo woo. You are a novice at the thing then.
Yes. Yeah.
And there are people that are experts at this thing who can literally explain the path forward in like the most simple steps. Because as you're saying, like it's not hard, it's so simple. But I'm also just thinking of the people listening that could be like,
I
oh,
thought it was
fucking
so
crazy.
hard though.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
needed to be convinced, so I'm glad that you're going there.
Right. Because I
Yes.
agree. It is so like in my mind, it's so simple, but it's simple because we have gone through it so many times and we
Yes.
see the patterns, right?
Yes.
Simple only comes through patterns, right? You're
Hmm.
like, oh, this keeps happening. This keeps happening. So, oh, step one is this. Oh,
Hmm.
and then after step two, it seems like this always happens. So that must be, oh, sorry, after step one, this
Hmm.
must be step two. So, um, yeah, when we are in the like, I'm overwhelmed, that everything, this just feels there's too many steps. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, that is like signal number one. You need a who. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Because you are
Yeah.
not gonna get out of that yourself.
Yeah.
True, like you cannot. Like one of my coaches says, you can't read the label from inside the
From
bottle,
inside the bottle. I love that analogy.
right? That's
Yes.
it. You are inside the fucking bottle right now, trapped.
Yeah.
And like on the label, it says like pull the flap, whatever it is, right? And you can't see that. And you are just like, literally grasping at straws, like freaking out, like can't breathe. And there's someone that already knows, literally step by step, everything that you
Hmm.
need to do.
Hmm.
Now, I think the hard part, and tell me if this is valuable to talk about, because now what I'm seeing too, and I'm sure you probably see this, is that there's too many who's,
Yes. Let's definitely
right?
talk about that.
So I get a
Yes.
lot of messages now of like, oh, like especially for what I do, LinkedIn coaching, right? Like all the LinkedIn fucking gurus out there. And so I'm bucketed in with them, even though I do not consider myself that at all.
Yeah.
Um, but I get why people do.
Yeah.
And you know, they come to me and they're like, listen, you know, you seem good, but everyone's saying that they can make me money. And like everyone's saying
Mm-hmm.
they can get me leads and clients from LinkedIn. Like, I don't know who to believe anymore. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally like, yes, for every problem that is the same thing. If you want to lose weight, oh my God, like
Oh, immediate
endless
overwhelm.
options. Yeah. If
Immediate overwhelm.
you're
Yeah.
keto or fucking fasting or I don't
Juice cleansing.
yeah, exactly. Like, I don't even know how you make that decision, right? So now there's like too much noise, too many options. How
Yeah.
do we even make that decision, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is truly such a um it's kind of like the shadow side of this business, right? Because
Yeah.
people need help and there is help, but now no one is now there's too many like the
It's
paradox,
overwhelming.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious I'm curious what comes up for you as I say that and like what.
You know what's so interesting? I think about ChatGPT immediately.
Mhm.
And here's why. Two reasons. Number one, I think a lot of people are starting to outsource decisions to AI,
Mm.
which in theory, very efficient and effective, but AI doesn't have a soul or a heart and it doesn't know you from the
Tuition.
inside.
Yeah.
Intuition. And
Yeah.
this is where I'm like, this is the kind of decision that to me, it's a big decision. And big decisions I've learned to insource to my intuition. And that has simplified my life massively. There is no more overthinking. So,
Mm.
like, even when I landed in Halifax, we did a long list of pros and cons for four different cities, and ended up being like, okay, we're satisfied. Halifax is good, and it's been amazing. I love living here, but I don't make decisions that way anymore.
Mhm.
I like yes to gathering information, but then I sit with it and I let my intuition guide me. And that might sound a little woo, but it has not led me astray. And every time I didn't listen to it, I was led astray.
Mm.
So that's the first thing I think of. Second is that a lot of people are also going to try to use AI to be their coach or to be their mentor. And again, I think there is some value in using AI to kind of simplify things, but just remember that there's no frequency or energy behind it.
Can I tell you
And
the go ahead.
yeah, no, I actually would love for you to cut in there.
Can I tell you the best thing I heard about like ChatGPT in the like I guess in the way that it's explained and
Yeah,
really
yeah,
to like
would love to hear
emphasize
it.
what you just said, which is I know what you mean. Like, you know, we can use ChatGPT as our coach and our therapist and all these different things. But someone said to me, someone super successful, the founder of Stan, I don't know if you know that product, Stan. So
I use Stan, yeah.
there you go. So I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, ChatGPT is a yes man.
It is.
It
Oh my
always
gosh, it
agrees with
is.
you.
It does. Yeah.
It always, and that is so fucking scary.
Echo chamber.
Exactly, right? And
Yeah.
the whole point of a coach, like yesterday I was on a call and the person was just like, oh, I've been doing this and this and yeah, like I don't know why it's not working, but I think this and this and I was just like, okay, stop. I got to be honest with you. Like, here's exactly why it's not working. And like, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there was like, it was coming up in me to be like, ooh, this is going to be confronting for this person. And I have the
Projector magic.
balls. Yeah, I have to have the
Like,
balls to say this right now versus just like
yeah.
letting them go off into their la la land because they were kind of
Yeah.
living in this la la land. And I was just like,
Yeah.
nobody cares about you because you haven't given them a reason to fucking care.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not your offer, it's not your blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you're not good at marketing, basically, is what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT is never going to tell you that. Like,
No.
please go try this. Go experiment. Everyone on this listening, go into ChatGPT, ask it any question, and the first thing it's going to do is affirm whatever you said. It's gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, great question, or wow, this is so good already. But always a yes, man.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is
Keeps you
disturbing.
engaged, keeps you coming
Exactly,
back
of course, because if it was like you're
psychologically.
stupid, then no one would use
Yeah.
it, right?
I
So
do give specific instructions to my chat GPT to be like, call me out. And it
right,
does, which is
you
great.
you have to do that, but 99% of the time
No, no.
it's just a yes man, right?
Yeah.
And so that is so scary. And I think, to answer the question of like of the who the hell do we actually
Yeah.
believe, right? And I think this is where I'm really so, AI is like terrifying in the sense of like, God, like there's so many things. I don't know if I don't look at any social media other than being on LinkedIn myself, but like
Yeah.
my partner has whatever, Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
there, I guess this image of a woman at a tennis game, I think it was, and it
Mm-hmm.
was an AI image, and she was
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, and like she already amassed like 140,000 followers, and she's not real in like
Yeah.
weeks. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
that's is terrifying. Like
Yeah.
nothing is real anymore. But I truly believe in
Mhm.
the power of humans,
Human
the fact
connection.
that we are going to rebel
Yes.
against that, and like everything, like to the stuff that we can discern at least, but that like human interaction, like one to like that, like literal, like being in person, like real life
Yeah.
stuff is going to be of like paramount importance,
Yes.
especially in
Yes.
selling. And so to me, it's like it you have to develop relationships with these people. You know what I mean? Like, let's be
Yeah.
honest, the
Yeah.
clients that you get, the clients that I get, it's like we've developed trust first and
Yeah.
foremost by being
Yeah.
real. Like I still manage all my DMs. It's still me. You know what I
Of
mean?
course. Yeah.
And even though I have whatever 35,000 followers, so people don't expect it to be me. And when it is
Right.
me, boom, level of trust
Yeah.
has been unlocked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't pitch, I don't try to set like all that kind of stuff. And then boom, another level of trust is unlocked. Oh, and
Yeah.
here's a free resource about like how to do that thing that you already don't know how to do. And like boom, another level of trust has been
Level of
unlocked,
trust.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I am actually like kind of really thankful for AI to some degrees. I'm like
Mm.
making me look great. You know, like being a human is like that is the fucking winning advantage at this point.
Well, that I think that's the magic of AI, though, on the other side of it, which is ideally it takes over all of the stuff that distracts us from the human experience to allow us to be more present with
Mm.
the human experience. Like I just saw a wild, it could be frightening, a graph about how AI is exponentially increasing in terms of capability to cost as well, and that it's the growth is exponential. So something wild like 5 years from now, it's going to be a million times better. It's
Mhm.
crazy. Like I don't even think I'm exaggerating. I think that was the stat. I'll have to double check that and put it in the show notes if that's incorrect. But the idea is it's going to be so good at handling the admin stuff, the stuff that we don't need our human creativity. We don't need to waste our human creativity on. If we see that as the gift that it is to be fully present in our lives, to work less, to care more about the relationships that we're cultivating. And so coming full circle with the question that you asked about, man, the who is becoming overwhelming when there's too many data points. It's like, I think the answer is actually just listen to your intuition. If someone makes you feel something, don't plug them into a chart to compare them to 10 other people. Have a conversation, reach out. And again, if they still make you feel something, there's something to explore there. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Like,
And guess what? There's so many people that could help you. Like
yeah,
all of them could help you. It
yeah,
doesn't,
you can't
that's
really go wrong.
exactly. You can't really go wrong, but
Yeah,
and it doesn't really matter. It's actually about
yeah,
like
exactly.
who do you feel like you're gonna have just the best experience with, like in terms of like
Mm-hmm,
are they gonna, to me, it's like, are they gonna give a shit about me?
mm-hmm.
That's my number one criteria because so many of these big coaches, whatever, it's
Yeah.
like you become a number. And I've been in
Yeah,
those programs.
floating head on a
Yep.
screen. Yeah.
And I like vow to not be that coach, right?
Yeah.
Like I want every client to be like, oh, like they gave a shit about me as a human and they gave a shit about the success that I was,
Hmm.
meant to have and having, right? I think that's the biggest thing. And if like it's even in the buying experience, like if
Yeah,
you already
totally.
feel like a number in the buying experience,
Hmm.
who fucking cares how many claims and social proof and whatever the fuck they have? Because I did that. I went with the big one, the big,
Hmm.
and I had to get my money back.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm like, this should have been a slam dunk, first of all. Like, I am literally your ICP to a fucking T. And like, not even did it not work, it cost me money. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Just like something is wrong in your process. And
Yeah.
I stayed on their email list and like I could see in their emails, I'm like, that experiment did not work. They
Mm.
kind of started to backtrack on that offer that I
Did
had.
you did you know before, did you kind of have that feeling before you bought into it?
No,
that it
because
wasn't.
my friend used them and she was wildly successful with them. So I was like, okay,
Mm,
like this should be good. I actually did like their sales process. Like
mm,
yeah, like that was fine. I but then immediately upon the first call, when
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
the floating head, I was like,
Okay.
oh no,
And you needed to know that experience. And so the gold that you took from that, you needed to be in that room to know
you
this
know
is
what to
not for me.
never create. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what people also, if there's an obsession with getting things right and not making a mistake, an obsession with avoiding failure.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are afraid of working with someone and it not working out, but realizing even if it doesn't quote unquote work out, it still worked. I know, I don't want this to sound self-serving, but
Yeah.
like there is gold in all of those scenarios. There's
Yeah.
something to be gleaned. And
Well, it's
yeah,
very
I read
growth versus fixed mindset.
exactly.
Get it
Yeah.
right or wrong, you
I
know?
picked up this book when I was in Mexico. It was just like in the Airbnb we were staying in. I forget what it was called, but it was a decision-making book written by a poker player who
Mm,
was like very like counting cards, numbers driven. And they're like, I opened it to a random page and it was incredible because at the time I was booking a last minute Airbnb in Tulum and I was totally overwhelmed. After 30 minutes of going into Airbnb, I was like, too many
yeah.
options. What do I do? Where do I stay?
Yeah.
And I opened this book to a page and it was like, if you have a lot of options that look the same, you can't go wrong.
Right.
Just pick one.
Yeah.
Like stop over analyzing it and pick one because the incremental gain that you've created in your mind doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If they all fulfill your criteria, stop comparing them and just choose one because that's going to be your win. Because the more time you spend on the decision, the more stress you create for yourself and the more joy you suck from the experience. And I was like, oh, it was like immediate. I was like, oh, well, thank you, universe, for giving me
Yeah.
that message. And I went into Airbnb. I was like, this one looks good.
Yeah.
And it was what it needed to be. It was perfect.
Yeah.
But it's kind of this, if you end up with several people that can help you, first of all, what a privilege.
Hmm.
And so you're spoiled for choices. Amazing. And it's like just the worst thing you can do is wait and
Yeah.
overanalyze because you're wasting your own time.
Yeah.
Go, move, take messy action. Like that, I feel like that's also a big part of your methodology. Like just
Well,
do the thing.
100%. And also, everyone has to always remember that there are um, two types of resources, infinite and finite.
Mm,
And money is an infinite resource.
yeah.
There's no literal end to it, you know?
Nope.
And
Nope.
time is like the most finite resource on planet Earth.
Mm,
And so you can, a coach, whatever, 5K, 10K, whatever you're going to pay, like it's just money. It's just money, but you're never going to get time. Like if you wait and you don't make the decision and you
yeah.
wait and you wait, you're never going to get that time back, you know?
Yeah. So let's kind of as we start to bring this to a close, I would love for you to share some insights specifically on that. You are the LinkedIn branding expert.
Mm,
And when I say branding, I mean you empower people to show up on LinkedIn, a platform that has historically been buttoned up and professional.
mhm,
And you're like, it needs more humans. It needs more
mhm.
humans who are
I'm
embodying their
with you.
message.
Yeah.
And it is also kind of untapped. Like, still a lot of people are not showing up there in their humanity. And if they were,
100%.
I feel like that's kind of the world that you're like building.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about what the main pattern interrupt or barrier or block that you've seen in people who are like, okay, I want to build this thing on LinkedIn?
Mm.
What's stopping them? And what's the thing that really facilitates that first breakthrough? Because, like, man, there's a world of opportunity out there.
So, okay, let me just share a stat and then I'll get to that question. You might have to remind me
Yeah,
to
let's do it.
but just to like prove the point, and obviously self-serving as it is, but it's just stats um and the data is real. But the stats are like Instagram, like of Instagram users, I think like 42% of them create content on Instagram. And like TikTok, I think is like something very similar. Like 47% of TikTok users, 47% of them create content on
Hmm.
platforms. They are content driven platforms, of course. On LinkedIn, it's 1%.
Whoa.
untapped.
Wild.
How many more years are we going to have to get, like, how many more years down the line are we going to get to 42? You know what I mean? Like,
And yet people still think like,
yeah,
oh my God, LinkedIn's so noisy. It's so
yeah.
saturated. Yeah, well, you're
Well,
in your own echo chamber, just so you know.
it's also the expectation, right? Like, no one goes to Instagram and is like, God, so much content.
I know, that's so funny.
Right? They're like, yes, give me more content. We're like
Yeah,
fucking
that's why they're there.
scrolling.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow,
that's TikTok's whole
that's
thing.
so funny.
Give me more content. And then you go to LinkedIn,
Yeah.
you're like, so much content. So it's just the culture, right? It's a cultural thing. And soon
Right.
enough, there'll be, so many of us creators that like people aren't going to expect that LinkedIn is just for like stuffy, staunchy fucking, I'm so humble to announce how great I am. I got a promotion
Oh my
update
God,
and that
please,
Dreamforce is
please.
happening in fucking October or whatever, you know?
I'm
Like,
thrilled to announce.
yeah, like who cares? And you're such a loser, sorry. That was mean. We'll edit that. Um,
Like amazing celebrating you, but
yes,
please show up more than that.
that's it.
Please
That's right.
don't
It's
use
like,
the automated.
right. It's like, oh, you never do anything on LinkedIn, and then all you're going to tell us is like how great you are for getting
Yeah.
shit, right?
Yeah. Or how great your company is because
Which is even worse because you don't care about your company
no,
whatsoever,
you don't care.
you
No,
know?
it's just to be like, oh my
It's
God.
embarrassing. It's embarrassing, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
anyways, and obviously they look at us and they're like, you're embarrassing because you
Yeah,
talk
exactly. Yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
We'll
Whatever.
take it. We'll take
Yeah.
it.
Anyways, to each their own, I get it. But so it's still open seas. And I think it's more so than anything like a cultural thing that like you don't people go to that platform to find a job, not to like hear
Yeah.
about someone's miscarriage, for example, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so like when they see that, it's like so shocking and jarring and how dare you like my
Personal life and
yeah,
business should have
yeah.
not should
How
be
dare you show up on
siloed.
this feed of content with your content, It's so
Yeah.
so yeah, it's 1%. But your question was around like that moment of
What's the
um
main pattern that you see that's like because you're the imposter syndrome coach, really the OG, right? Like, what do you see as the main excuse or block that's playing out that people kind of need that mirror to be like, oh shit, yeah, that's a thing. And then what is the reframe that is like kind of opens the floodgates?
yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is they are afraid of what people will think of them.
Yeah.
More, I
Yeah.
mean, because like I just demonstrated,
Well, oh yeah,
people
God,
think things.
oops. But it comes back to the first thing you said about good girl conditioning and being the good girl to receive love. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it
yeah,
that's all it is. We
yeah.
were thinking about how it's going to be perceived because I don't want to be an outcast because if I was an outcast back in caveman days, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
So it's
And if I
very
put
survival
something out and it
instinct.
doesn't get appreciated, right? Like then
Yeah.
I'm not receiving the love, Like it's more proof of how not enough I already feel inside,
Mm,
right?
right.
I think that's the biggest one is like people are like, "Oh, what are people going to think?" And so then I always say, "Okay, like can you give me a specific person that like they is not a person and people is not a person, right? So like who specifically do you actually care about?"
Mm-hmm.
It's always like an ex-boss or,
Mm,
someone in power, some authority
mm,
figure, right?
mm.
And they're like,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
because most people think about, oh, I have to share my story and I have to share vulnerably, which is true. But they think about like literally like the first post has to be like, I fucking hated my job. Yeah. And like just
Yeah.
my boss was the
Yeah.
worst human I've ever met, like, okay, like that's not what we're saying, because
Yeah.
this isn't the whole point isn't to rant. The whole point is to tell a story that teaches a lesson that could be
Mm-hmm.
valuable for someone that's going through something similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about ranting about how shit your boss was or how toxic the culture was. It's about telling a story that teaches some kind of lesson, right? So, okay, your boss was shit and the culture was toxic, but what was the lesson that you took from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the nugget that has now helped you make better decisions, change your life,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, right? And so I think that's where people don't understand the point of content. Like they think it's like a diary, or like a
Mm-hmm.
right,
Yeah.
like today
Yeah.
I
It's like,
went,
oh my God, I need to expose every vulnerable part
right,
of me.
right.
Yeah.
And it's like no, too much.
Yeah.
There is TMI, and
Yeah.
um but and that's the whole process of learning how to copyright and learning how to tell stories, right?
Right.
So coming back to, I ask people like who in particular. So it's typically kind of like their boss, whatever, whatever. And then I go, okay, so let's say that you put out whatever the content is, the story. You obviously aren't going to name them. You're going to keep things kind of broad and like, you're not going to be like Jack Cornfield was like, right? But like, you're going to talk kind of more broadly about it. Let's just say that they did read it. Okay, what would happen? And they're like,
Mhm.
oh my God, like, I just, what would they think? Whatever. I'm like, okay, let's say that they did say something, they comment, right? Then what? And they're like, oh my God, that would be really hard. That would be really horrible. I'm like, okay, but like, then what would happen though? And they're like, I mean, I guess nothing because it's an ex-boss and they have nothing to do with my wife, like
Mhm. Mhm.
really nothing other than like it will feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, right.
Mhm.
And when will that discomfort like subside? And they're like,
When I
yeah,
do
probably
it.
like the next day. I'm like, right.
Mhm.
And then what happens? And then they're like, yeah, I guess I just like keep going on with my life.
I guess I'm still alive.
Yeah,
I live,
right.
move
And
on.
you just have to play it out because obviously, like, listen, that happened. So one of my clients, she was holding back her real story because she's like, oh, what if he reads it? What if he says something? I know he checks my stuff. Whatever boss she had. I go, okay, what if he does? She's like, oh, it'd be so horrible, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, but do you still work there? No. Does he have any bearing on your life? No. Okay, so it just will be uncomfortable. Yes. Okay. Could you survive? Yes. Okay. What is the upside though? Right? Like if you tell your real story, what's the
Mhm.
upside? Well, people that are in that same situation like could feel, that they're not alone, like all these different things, inspired, motivated, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So she writes the story and like, either fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, it goes viral.
Oh wow.
And he does see and he
Of
does
course.
comment,
Uh-huh.
like the worst
Uh-huh.
fear came true
Right. Needed to.
and nothing happened.
Nothing.
You know, she doesn't work there. He has no bearing on her life. It was uncomfortable, of course, in that moment.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like it gained her tons of followers and more influence and more clout.
Yeah. Talk about
Right?
trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, and now she's like, well, funny enough, she's now my content coach, which is amazing because she's like,
Wow.
say the quiet thing out loud because the
Yeah.
worst thing can happen and you will still survive. It happened to me, and she shows the evidence and everything.
Yeah.
And like that's the story that you have to tell, right? Like it's not about,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
That's the lesson.
Yeah, it's your lived experience. And I think often we're prone to undervaluing, or well, we undervalue our gifts. Again, reading the label from inside the bottle, where we're like,
Mm,
oh, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, but you went through it, and someone else is likely going through it. So if you're undervaluing it, that's actually you keeping a nugget, piece of wisdom from someone who could really use it. So it's not shaming people into like constantly oversharing, but inviting listeners into the possibility that what you have to share doesn't it might not it's not going to seem groundbreaking to you
yeah,
because you lived it,
yeah,
but it's likely going to be groundbreaking to someone else. And it's
yeah.
when you allow yourself to share from a place of realness. Obviously you don't need to share from an open wound. That's not helpful to anyone.
Speak from the
It's
scar, not from the wound. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes, I love that
Well,
saying.
and not like I'll ever get to talk to Jim Carrey about it, but like, Jim Carrey says this commencement speech and he says this line and he probably has that line means nothing to him anymore, like because he's lived it and it's just whatever.
Hmm.
But for me, it changed my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure if I ever got to meet him and I would tell him that, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
glad." But
Mm.
it's not like going to change his life. Like his life has already been changed by that experience that he of his father and whatever, right? But like now
Hmm.
that now my life's changed, like you know what I mean? And so there's such an opportunity um to have so much influence and like impact on
Yeah.
people if
Yeah.
we dare to.
Yeah. Dare to be brave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if someone I'd love if someone takes one thing away
Mm.
from this conversation, what is that one thing that you would want them to walk away with?
I mean, I think it's the quote. I think
Mm.
it's the quote. you can
Yeah.
fail at what you don't even like, so you might as well try at what you
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean,
Yeah.
I've probably said that on almost every podcast I've ever been on.
It's really important.
It's so good.
It lands with who it needs to land with.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Like if you're in a job right now that you don't even really like, and just kind of like, even
Yeah.
if you're doing good at it,
Yeah.
so
Zone of
what?
excellence.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so what?
I know.
Like if you don't even like it, so what? Because it's not something that you can even, you're probably not talking to your friends about how great you are at the job that you don't even like because you don't
I
even
mean,
think
you're
about it.
probably even glorifying the fact that you don't like it because you've internalized a story about success that
Right.
success is hard earned and it's
Yeah.
really hard work. This has been
Yeah.
a story I have been deconditioning from for
Yes.
so long,
For sure.
still in the process of it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
I was going to say if someone takes one thing away, especially because we're speaking to the LinkedIn queen, it's that you have a personal brand whether you like it or not. Whether
Mm,
you're posting on LinkedIn or Instagram, your personal brand is your energy. It's how you show up. It's probably what you're known for without trying to even be known for it. And you said something earlier in this conversation about personality and how personalities change. And I guess another full circle moment. This is something that Joe Dispenza says all the time, and I think he even says it in this meditation that I did this morning, is that your personality creates your reality.
hmm hmm
And so when you look at the thing that is trying to come through, whether it's an idea, a new job, a new place to live, maybe it's building a personal brand and you don't quite know why. It's like instead of focusing on the why and the how, coming back to the who. Who's the version of you who's already done it?
hmm
Yeah. And LinkedIn, man, we could use more humans on LinkedIn. So if you're not following Alli on that platform, go and make sure that you follow her because Alli is constantly sharing very actionable wisdom, but also very human experiences, not just about building a brand on LinkedIn, but also about how to navigate big life changes and how to really lead into your next chapter with a sense of embodiment and empowerment, whatever it is, whether it's starting a business on LinkedIn or doing something radically different, or maybe something that's not radically different at all, but that requires an identity shift. So, yeah, highly recommend that you go and follow Alli's content for a daily dose of strategy, but also like, yeah, wisdom.
Story, being a human. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like to end these with a quick lightning round. So I have a couple go-to questions. Just no overthinking, whatever comes through. Are you cool with that?
Yep.
Okay. What did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a kid?
A dancer.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
A book that everyone should read.
Right now, my obsession is 10x is easier than 2x.
Mm. I would have asked the favorite quote. We already know what that
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So, best or worst, whatever comes to mind, best or worst advice you've ever received.
I'm gonna bring it back to my sales days. This is just the first one that came up, but
Mhm.
time kills all deals.
Ooh,
The
time,
longer
the finite resource.
and yeah, collapse time, right? Like the longer you give someone to decide, the longer it'll take for them to decide.
Yes. Ooh,
And the longer they will justify why they shouldn't decide at all.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the longer they sit in their excuses and they
Yep.
normalize the excuses.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because time kills all deals is not just sales. Time kills all opportunities.
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
Oof, powerful.
Yeah.
If you could give your younger self
Mhm.
one message or one piece of advice, what would it be?
Mm, Probably take more risks.
Mm,
Yeah. I didn't
yeah,
take this when I was young. I only started
yeah,
taking this in my 30s.
mm,
It's fine. That's still young. But like,
yeah, yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, I probably took a lot of like stupid risks when I was in my 20s of like
That's part of being
drinking and
being
partying and whatever. But I have a niece and sorry, I have a nephew, two nephews that are 15 and 12, and like they're both starting businesses. And like,
Wow.
I
That's
wish I cared
incredible.
about that when I was their age,
Mm,
you know? I really
different
like,
generations.
yeah, different
We
generation for
didn't
sure.
have AI to validate our
We didn't
ideas.
have Instagram, we didn't nothing, like it wasn't easy to start a business when we were 12 and 15,
No,
right? Like
no,
it
it
would have
was
been brick
not.
and mortar. So,
Yes. And I love that as a note to end on that truly there's never been a better time to
bro.
monetize your zone of genius. Like,
And like if you like you said, I love that you said that like even if you don't have a personal brand, you actually have a personal brand, whether you
mhm,
like it or not.
mhm.
Um, that your personal brand is going to be everything in the future,
It really is.
literally everything. And if
Yeah.
you don't figure out the skill set to make money through yourself and not through a company,
Hmm.
in my mind, you're fucked.
Hmm. I completely agree. I mean, that's why I do the work that I do, to remind women of what their brilliance is, because we are most prone to undervalue it, and to actually remember abundance, freedom, the life that you actually want to live is your birthright. Like, it's just a matter of embodiment, and not stop making excuses. And so I kind of love that you and I, like, well, obviously I used to be your client, and I'm like, the identity work, if I could do this right, I would have done the identity work, and then I would have been in your accelerator, and I feel like I would have been unstoppable. I kind of skipped the identity work, whatever. I still got immense value from figuring out, like, okay, I had the strategies and the frameworks to lean on.
Yeah.
That's very important because it creates the scaffolding and the solid foundation from which you get to launch, right? So if anyone's listening and you're like, okay, first of all, stop thinking about the how.
Yeah.
Identity work, who are you? What do you stand for? What is your zone of genius? And then probably get right into Alli's business accelerator, because she's got all of the frameworks and the strategies to basically turn that into a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
into gold.
Yeah.
So, Alli, where can people find you? And if they're interested in your work, where should they be looking?
LinkedIn, shocker,
Mm-hmm.
is where I hang out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, LinkedIn, /in/ Alli Rizacos. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
always, they forget the in part. You always need,
I'll include that in the show notes for anyone who wants
yeah.
to follow Alli on LinkedIn.
And yeah, I'll just say that so I have 3 programs: launch, grow, and scale. So launch is
Ooh, love that.
for corporate people that are still in corporate, leaders that aren't going to quit their day job quite yet, but are wanting to get coaching clients, their first coaching clients. Grow is for people that have gotten their first, coaching clients, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, mostly referral based, but are now looking to create the LinkedIn sales system, right? And then scale is like, you've been at it for 2, 3 years and you're really trying to scale to those like 20, 30, 40K months. So those are kind of the 3 avatars that we work with.
Amazing.
And all of that can be found on my LinkedIn. If you want to get even more of a taste of what I do, you'll see a free masterclass that I have available there, how to get 3 to 5
Cool.
clients on LinkedIn per month.
Ooh,
Yeah,
love
it's a
that.
good place to start. Yeah, we'll
Amazing.
put that in the show notes too.
Okay, sweet. I'll make sure all of those are linked. Sweet.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
obsessed. Thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom.
Yeah,
Yeah, what a pleasure. We'll do it again sometime.
for sure. For sure. In person.